before I move on now, what we need to discuss is the note names. Okay, so the notation is built upon the alphabet, the English alphabet. However, we only use the first 7 letters. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. After we get to G, we start over again and it cycles back to A. So after G comes A. It just goes back to the very first letter again. So if we're singing a scale and the notes are going higher and they're rising step by step, then we just keep saying it over and over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth. So first thing I do is I have my students say their alphabets and I have them say it backwards. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So if you haven't tried saying your alphabet backwards, don't worry, you don't have to start from Z. Just start from G and say your alphabet backwards and just practice doing that. I also have sometimes a couple students, they get a bit confused by that, especially the younger ones. So we drill it, we go over it and over and over it, and then we also talk about neighbors. So I'll show you what I do for my students. It's a really great way to clear up confusion for almost every student, okay? So when I have a student who really gets confused, or a student who's very, very young, I've even taught 2-year-olds before, so in violin lesson. So I've taught everything from 2 up to like way beyond retirement age. And so this is a really great way. So we see how this is like a hill. It's kind of like Nob Hill in San Francisco. So imagine this is a hill. And so I'm gonna just write my alphabet here. Okay, I'll show you a close-up here coming up. I'm doing it really quickly, so sorry for the mess. So I'm just kind of went, all right, for a little bit beyond 8 notes. Okay, so you can see A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. It goes on and on and on and on. And also below this, it goes on and on. It's basically a spectrum that has no beginning and no end, right? And so then, once you've sort of gotten your alphabet, learned forwards and backwards, then the second thing I do is I ask them to say their scales. So basically, I don't want to go into what a scale is too far right now because we're talking about just pitches right now. But basically, we want to start and end on the same note. So an A scale would start on A and end on A. So we're talking about this group of notes here, right? So if I ask you to say a C scale, you take C, right? And say your scale all the way up until C, okay? So then I ask them to do that. And what that does is it sort of bridges the gap between, the G, which is the end of the alphabet as we know it, and then the A, which is back to the beginning. It's like a ring, that cycles through and never ends. So it kind of helps bridge that gap as well, because mentally there's a little bit of a block there. And then so we can try it right now, and if the student can't do it without looking, so let's just turn this over. Let's say we have to do it just thinking about it. There's nothing tangible, so I'll say an F scale. Let's say F. Often this is a great chance to just make it really fun. My young students have a blast whenever, like I told you, we do anything pitch and rhythm related, because we put our violin down and we sit for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we go back to playing again. So anyway, we sit down and we have a good time, because I'll say, if the student's name is Claire, then I'll say, let's say the C scale, C for Claire, or D for Daddy, right? Or if they have a friend, do you have a friend that starts with a B name, or who's your best friend? And if the name starts with like G, like George, or F for like Freddie or something. So then we start with that one, because they're super interested and really motivated. All right, so we'll start with C. So let's say our scale going up C and then stop on C. So it would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We're done, okay? So that's the ascending scale. I'll tell them say our C scale going up, and then now say our C scale going down. So now we're gonna do the C descending scale. Start on C, but now we have to remember who's before. So that's C going down to B, A, and then once we got to A, that's kind of the beginning of our alphabet. So we have to go back and go to G now. So we're going to go C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. All right. So I often find that the people who really struggle, once you're looking again, right, at the staff paper, and then, you're trying to figure out notes, I find that among my beginners, the ones who really have trouble are the ones who can't go back and forth very freely within their alphabet. They cannot go forwards and backwards in their alphabet. And also, they don't know what their neighbors are. So basically, after we say our scales forwards and backwards, we do this for a long time. So I'll say your E scale, and then we'll do it forwards and we'll do it backwards. I'll say your B scale, say your A scale. We go through everything. We do it over and over. Even if the student mastered it, if they're young, they learn quickly, they forget quickly. So we just have to keep doing it, even over weeks at a time, months at a time. Keep doing it, keep reviewing. And then basically I asked them about neighbor. So that's another really great way to solidify your knowledge. If you really know your music alphabet backwards and forwards, inside out, and everything, okay? So I will ask who are D's neighbors? So here's D, so here's that hill on San Francisco. I'm gonna draw like a house top here with a chimney. Okay, sorry about the drawing. And then, so here's D. I'll say you live at D because your name's David, right? So you live at D. So who's your neighbor on the lower side? So they'll say C is my neighbor, right? And then who's your neighbor on the upper side? And that's E, all right? So who are D's neighbors? C and E. And then just to make sure, I might ask them who's the upper neighbor, and they'll say D's upper neighbor is E. Okay, so we can take another one. Let's say there's a house right here, right, on G. And then so we'll ask who are G's neighbors? A and F, all right? And who's the lower neighbor? F is the lower neighbor, all right? Or I'll ask them one at a time. Who's the upper neighbor? They answer. Who's the lower neighbor? They answer, all right? So this is a really good way. And then sometimes most of the time I do it without having this visual. So they have to just kind of really think about it and take the information out of their head. When they struggle with it, that's when I always bring this visual. I always draw the hill. I always draw the houses. I talk about neighbors. I even ask them who lives on, who's your neighbor living on this side? Who's your neighbor living on that side? So we talk about their actual neighbors that live in the houses next door. So the concept of neighbors is, really, really strong. Also, the music, the scales that we say, sometimes I show them, I plot it over here, and sometimes I don't. So you guys, you can try it out. If you're one of those who are having a bit of trouble with it, go ahead and write them out. I often had a little breakthrough with my student with that. They can do it, all that information is in their head. So what I asked them to do is, okay, here, I want to hear the F scale, so take your pencil and write it. And then so they wrote it first. So they had it, but they couldn't bring it from their brain to speech. So they had to bring it from their brain down into paper. So they wrote it down. F scale looks like this, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And they were so quick when they just wrote it, and then write it backwards. So even though it's already there, it's okay. Just write it backwards. F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F. All right, and that way they've practiced writing those letters in that sequence, okay, in that order. Okay, so that's basically, I think, all the prep work that I do. And sometimes you can overlap. You don't have to finish all of that before you get started on here, but often it's probably easier if you do. Then we come to here and I remind them, okay, here's the G clef and here's the G line, and I'm drawing a G right here. So this is G. So who's G's upper neighbor? And they'll tell me right away it's A. All right, and then I'll say, look, see, this is A sitting on the second space, and this is A sitting on the second space. It doesn't matter what they look like as long as the circle part, the head of the note, is sitting on that spot. So what they look like, again, it refers to rhythm. So if it's like this one, I call this a donut. It just has that circular, note head and no stem, and it's not filled in. So that is a certain rhythm. It's worth 4 beats in case you're really curious. And then this one is worth 1 beat, but it really doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters where it's sitting. So look at the head and look at where it's sitting. So see second space, they match. They're both A's. Excellent, they figured it out. The next note above that is B. See his space going to line. And then so that is B. So G, A, B. Okay, so this entire page consists of only A's and B's. So I might, again, just to reinforce, I might ask them point to any B, find a B, and they'll go, I found one. And I'll do it too, that way we're racing. It's a lot of fun. I say, okay, look for an A, go. And then we'll say, I found one. So first, of course, I win. And then after a couple times they learn and they really start paying attention, and then they find it and they win. All right, so it's really, really good. And then so this whole page is just A's and B's. So I make sure they stay very steady. So now it's time to finally say it. Okay, so we're going to say line 1. Here it is. Okay, so we're going to say A, 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 B, 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 A, 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 and then we take a little breather and we think about it, and then we can move on. All right, so this one's a little more fun. It's more interesting. So it's B, B, A, 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 B, B, A, A, B, B, A, A. All right, and then lesson 2 has the same 2 notes in it. Okay, A's and B's just mixed up more. And then lesson 3 introduces a new note. So we'll cover that next time. Okay, have fun with it.